Acting Vice-Chancellor, Deputy Vice-Chancellors, Executive Deans of Faculty. In particular, I would like to convey my special greetings to the Executive Dean of the Faculty of Humanities, Professor Pamela Maseko, whose faculty is an academic home for Professor Draai, our inaugural Professor of the night. Colleagues from the Faculty of Humanities, and in particular those colleagues from the Department of Public Management and Leadership. Also our professoriate and all members of the Academy here present tonight, members of senior management, students, alumni, honored guests, and of course also the guests that are joining us online tonight, and friends of the faculty and the university. Good evening, goeienaand, molweni. It is my great pleasure and privilege to welcome you all to this momentous occasion where Professor Draai will deliver her inaugural lecture entitled An Exploration of Work-Integrated Learning for a Professional Public Service, the Creation of the Public Servant of the Future. And I think we all look tremendously forward to that enlightenment that we will share with Professor Draai tonight. Today marks a significant milestone in the academic journey of Professor Draai. Being inaugurated into the professoriate is no small accomplishment. This auspicious occasion not only demonstrates the exceptional expertise in the field of public management and leadership, but is also indicative of the profound and significant contributions made by Professor Draai in both our university and to the broader academic and civil communities. This event is a celebration of excellence in scholarship and a recognition of years of dedication within our three academic missions, namely learning and teaching, research and innovation, and academic engagement. We are honored to have Professor Draai share with us tonight her insights and her discoveries that have not only advanced knowledge in her field, but also have inspired many students and colleagues in their pursuit of academic excellence. I also want to extend a special word of welcome, as of course requested by Professor Draai, to her mother, Mrs. Anne Blau, to her husband and sons, Chris, Darren, and Matthew, and also to the extended Draai family, in-laws, extended family, and all. Also colleagues and family online, whether you are in South Africa, in Germany, Morocco, the USA, the UK, the Netherlands, Australia, or Nigeria, please be welcomed to tonight's event. Also Mrs. Molefe from the Educational Opportunities Council and fellows from the British Undergraduate Fellowship Scheme. Also Mr. Clive Felix, who is the Director of PURA, and to Mr. and Mrs. Nzobane, Directors at Metroplan. Professor Mayokisu, who was Professor Draai's study leader, and of course Professor Kishore Raga, who was a former colleague, and coincidentally I know Professor Raga also very well, so he's now an emeritus professor. Your presence here tonight underscores the importance of this inaugural lecture, whilst adding to the collective spirit of celebration of this evening. As we settle to listen to Professor Draai's inaugural lecture, let us take a moment to appreciate the broader significance of our inaugural professorial lectures. These lectures are not just a reflection of the individual achievement, but also a testament to the collective efforts of our academic community in pushing the boundaries of knowledge and understanding. This, of course, resonates very well with our institutional value of Ubuntu. These professorial inaugural lectures, whilst representing the pinnacle in academic achievement, also paves the way for the start of a range of new and interesting debates to follow that will enrich the academic discourse and discipline tonight. So therefore, I would like to invite my colleague, Professor Pamela Maseko, the Executive Dean of the Faculty of Humanities, to introduce Professor Draai. Thank you, dankie, inkosi.
Mr. Acting Vice-Chancellor, Professor Andre Kiet, Deputy Vice-Chancellors present, especially Professor Hendrik Lloyd, members of senior management, executive deans of faculty, colleagues across the different faculties, distinguished guests, students, family and friends, and of course, our guest of honor, Professor Enaleen Draai. Good evening. I'm deeply honored to introduce Professor Enaleen Draai on the occasion of her inaugural lecture, where we recognize significant achievements in her exceptional academic career. Professor Draai holds the position of professor in the Department of Public Management and Leadership in GSS, the School of Governmental and Social Sciences in the Faculty of Humanities. Her career includes serving as the director of the school between 2016 and 2019. She continues to contribute her expertise to a number of faculty and institutional committees. Prof. Draai holds a Doctor of Philosophy in Public Administration from our university, while she obtained her Master's in Public Administration from Stellenbosch University and BA Honours in Public Administration from Robert Gordon University in the United Kingdom. And this particular qualification was funded by the British Undergraduate Fellowship Scheme. As if this is not enough, Professor Draai is currently pursuing a Doctor of Business Administration qualification in higher education at Bath University in UK. Her academic journey began in 1997 as a lecturer at the then PE Technikon, followed by a period of service in an administrative capacity from 1994 to 1997 as a faculty officer. Her decades, 3 decades of service reflect not only her professional growth, but also her deep-rooted loyalty to the institution and its students. Reflecting on Professor Draai's time as the director of the school, Professor Mkhize, the current director of GSS, notes that Professor Draai has been an indispensable force of institutional memory and experience within GSS and the faculty. She willingly shares her vast knowledge of policy, process, and practice garnered from 30 years of experience and service in our university. Her thoroughness and attention to detail in academic and administrative matters has been key in GSS life and culture through its growth phase over the past several years. Professor Draai's overarching research focus is on public organizational capacity building and policy management, with niche areas that include service quality, organizational reputation management, organizational trust, skills development, policy capacity, and policy implementation. Research areas that are of high importance in the South African context of public administration. Professor Draai has authored and co-authored books, journal articles, and book chapters that explore pressing issues in the South African public governance, service quality, and organizational trust. One of her proudest contributions in this area is the co-editing of a book titled A Practical Introduction to Public Management. And it's a valuable resource for students and practitioners alike. She's very busy. She's currently co-editing a book titled Public Administration and Management in a New Era, Innovation and Sustainable Governance. And this is for 2025 publication. And this project highlights her enduring dedication to innovative thinking and sustainable development. Professor Draai is not just a researcher, she's passionate. She's a passionate educator and finds great fulfillment in teaching and mentoring the next generation of public administrators. She has supervised over 30 master's and PhD candidates, most of whom are here today or watching online. Her dedication to student success is evident in her personal investment in their academic and professional journeys. Dr. Amina Yakut Saleh, the present head of department in the department that hosts Prof. Draai, whose doctoral study was led by Prof. Draai, attests to this. She says, as a supervisor and mentor respectively, Professor Draai was instrumental in ensuring the success of PhD studies. And as a mentor, she continues to facilitate her professional growth as she introduces her to disciplinary experts and academic networks to develop connections in the discipline, which is significant in one's academic success and future career trajectory. Enaleen scholarship is also deepened by collaborations and knowledge exchange, both locally and internationally. And her professional affiliation and networks reflect her global engagement and leadership in the field of public administration. As co-chair of the International Association of Schools and Institutes of Administration, and this is just one organization, and she's a co-chair of the working group of this association, the working group on gender, diversity and equity. She plays a crucial role in advancing discussions on social justice and gender equality from an African perspective. Enaleen has lectured at universities in Germany and serves as a visiting professor at Bayreuth International Graduate School of African Studies. Her work with government entities and the National School of Government, just to mention a few, demonstrates her dedication to applying her knowledge in practical ways that benefit institutions and communities. As I conclude, Professor Draai has made it known to me that the idiom, "it takes a village to raise a child," rings true to her. And therefore, at this point, I wish to acknowledge those people who have contributed to her being Umdu that we celebrate today. And most of these have been welcomed by the DVC RII. Firstly, we wish to acknowledge Enaleen on your behalf, your parents, Mr. and Mrs. Blau, and the 79-year-old Mrs. Blau is here with us. You're welcome. And then Professor Enaleen's husband, Chris, and sons, Darren and Matthew, and the extended Draai and Blau families. Mr. Clive Felix of the Port Elizabeth Land Restitution and Housing Association, Mr. Ndaba Nzombane and Mrs. Nzombane of Metropolitan Town and Regional Planners. We also recognize her colleagues and families that are watching online from her networks in South Africa and international universities. In Germany, Morocco, Nigeria, USA, UK, Netherlands, and Australia. And Mrs. Mulefe, who assisted in funding her BA honors in the UK from the fellows from the British Undergraduate Fellowship Scheme. Enaleen also wishes to acknowledge Professor Thoko Mayekiso, the current Vice-Chancellor of Mpumalanga University, who was a doctoral study leader, as indicated, as well as Professor Kisho Raga and Professor Derek Taylor, who were her mentors. While Enaleen acknowledges Prof. Raga for guiding her through the academy, Professor Raga, in turn, says that his role as a mentor was eased by Prof. Draai's willingness to work hard and implement the guidance which was provided. She has always been steps ahead in reading and transferring contemporary literature to the students, and her achievements today are a testament to that. Please join me, colleagues, friends, family, in welcoming Professor Enaleen Draai to the podium to deliver her inaugural professorial lecture titled An Exploration of Work-Intergrated Learning for a Professional Public Service, the Co-Creation of the Public Servant of the Future. Thank you very much.
just need, if somebody could just help me with projecting. Yeah, I will start soon. Prof. Keat, Acting VC, Acting DVC, Prof. Lloyd, Executive Dean, Prof. Maseko, and Executive Deans present, as well as members of the senior management of the university, Deputy Dean, Dr. Jackie Leek, Director of School, Prof. Nomalanga Mkize, HOD, my HOD, Dr. Amina Yakutsali, honored guests, colleagues, family, and friends, good evening. I acknowledge all faiths and belief systems present. However, I would like to open the proceedings, my section of the proceedings, with the following scripture. Philippians 4, verse 13. I can do all things through him who gives me strength. My lecture is an extract from a more extensive project currently underway, but it's also a reflective narrative of experience and exploration. I request your indulgence in commencing with thanksgiving before I delve into the crux of my lecture. I come from very, very humble beginnings, and I wish to thank my mom. Anne Blau, you were steadfast in your commitment to seeing your daughter educated. Thank you. My family present here tonight, thank you. I am because you are. To the youngest members of the family present tonight, they all sit and they came to see their aunt. The world awaits you. Commit to your dreams and your aspirations. I wish to thank my husband, Chris, and sons, Darren and Matthew. This academic journey has impacted our family in many ways, and we have learned to navigate the demands and appreciate the benefits together. Chris, thank you for your unwavering support and for being my biggest fan even when the journey presented twists and turns. While doing my master's, Chris inquired about my assignment due dates and would help package and courier my assignments. This was before admission to Moodle. He knew I had the ability to agonize over my assignments. My sons, Darren and Matthew, were very little when I started my doctoral journey. And the infamous question while at my desk trying to crank out a chapter would be, "Mom, are you still working?" One of my sons at the age of 3 going on 4 fed the computer with a Mari biscuit because he thought it might be hungry and tired because Mom is always working. To my circle of women that support me, I wish to honor all the women who have been and continue to be part of my lifelong journey. I have learned from and shared with the best. I wish to recognize Mrs. Mama Molefe, who was instrumental in the selection and recommendation panel of my scholarship and enabled me to be part of the BRUFS 1 team to the UK in 1987. Mama Molefe, I know you are online. Thank you for believing in me, giving me the opportunity for your care and concern for our welfare while in cold Edinburgh, and for reminding us of our purpose while on scholarship. Mama Molefe used to say, "You've come here for a purpose. Make your families proud. Go home with a qualification." Thank you to my study leader of my doctoral study, Prof. Toko Mayakiso. I am grateful for your mentoring role in my research journey. At times, I would arrive at Prof's office, especially at this time of the year, with abstracts looming for our pending writing retreat, and I would declare that I had no words or impetus to structure a section or convert one of my chapters into an article. Prof Toko Maikiso would calmly look at me, and I would be stressing, and she would smile and tell me, "Take time, you will be ready." On completion of my doctorate, I held a healthy publication record. My Dean of Faculty, my current Dean of Faculty, Prof. Pamela Maseko. I'm always inspired by your insightful wisdom and positive influence in leading the faculty and opening avenues for exposure and growth. Thank you, Prof. My world of work, Mr. Clive Felix. Thank you for introducing me to the world of gainful employment when I had all but given up hope that I would find work in South Africa. I was ready to leave the country again, and as job hunting became a job in itself, at a time when I had minimal access to resources. I commenced my work-integrated learning some time ago, informally and formally, and I remain on the learning curve to be employable in a newer era. I'm sure many of us know what that means. My interview panel at the PE Technikon consisted of approximately 8 people, with only 1 female member. My colleague, Mr. Pettit, is here, and so I'm so grateful for seeing you here. This was when the country was on the verge of political transition. My interview was conducted partially in English and Afrikaans. It was accepted that I was fluent in both languages. I can speak colloquial and conversational Afrikaans. Ek kan lekker praat. However, my theoretical and critical reasoning mind finds itself in English. I summoned the courage, and probably in my best Scottish twang at the time, requested the chair to decide which language the interview would be conducted in. The rest of the interview was conducted in English. Upon reflection, that experience taught me not to try and fit in and assimilate into the dominant isms, but to navigate and negotiate change. To the students, I wish to acknowledge all the students I've interacted with and continue to engage in teaching and learning and research. Together, we co-create the learning experience. My research students are very well aware of co-creation when chapters are returned for revision. I wish to acknowledge my doctoral candidates present and the doctors who have walked the research path with me. My integrated learning is a continuous process because the university landscape is fluid and changing. Coordinating the work-integrated learning experience in the Diploma of Public Management has been a learning curve that has culminated in collaboration, partnerships, and friendships. This experience has informed my teaching style, kept me attuned to curriculum design, and sensitized me to the challenges students face en route to gainful employment. The experience has also, to some extent, kept me informed and somewhat knowledgeable about contemporary culture. I have learned to hold my phone like this, to listen to the message. Secondly, I've also learned about the global craze of Twalabam, which has subsequently moved on. I will not venture to try and make the moves, but at least I know something about Twalabam. Over the years, I've had many interns who have joined me for short periods of experiential training and longer internship stints over 2 years. These students from our discipline are keen to acquire experience and develop professional acumen to enter the world of work. I have also hosted students from Germany almost annually since 2015. The conversation about employability, the competencies that render the individual employable, is a never-ending discussion and practice in our offices. Two of my most recent HSRC and NRF interns are present tonight. One, I'm proud to say, is gainfully and in full-time employment within the area of his expertise. Congratulations, Sibahle Sotondoshe. Secondly, Baba Alwa Mahanyana is employable, competent, and very professional. Our time together soon comes to an end. And yes, I'm looking for full-time employment for her. As I move closer to sharing my thoughts and insights on work-integrated learning for a professional public service, the co-creation of the public servant of the future, I invite you to journey with me and ponder in your spaces the following. How have you reacted to or engaged an intern or in-service student on work-integrated learning in your offices? Please consider. Do you remember your first step into gainful employment? For some of us, that memory is longer than others. For the students here tonight, what do you need to do to be employable? What hinders your gainful employment? And as I journey, please consider where you find yourself, employable or in full-time gainful employment. And so, in proceeding to an exploration of work-integrated learning for professional public service, the co-creation of the public servant of the future. I've given thanks, and I want to talk about the relevance of experiential training and higher education within our context. And so, for consideration, what is the role of the university in the African context? What does employability mean specifically for public administration and management students in this context? What is the relationship between employability and employment in the public service? Which skills does the future public servant need as a change agent? In its quest for growth and development, society is continually met with new and emerging phenomena that seeks coexistence with perennial issues. Society is thus defined by a myriad of complex socio-economic governance, political and technological challenges, requiring problem-solving for change. Human capital development, informed by requisite knowledge, competence, and skills, becomes crucial. However, graduate employability has drawn substantial attention from employers and the world of work, citing a mismatch between the curriculum pursued in higher education and the work readiness of graduates. In this discussion, higher education refers to our universities. The implication is that these graduates do not hold the attributes and aptitudes required and expected by the world of work. Graduates, it said, lack the requisite aptitude to transfer knowledge acquired. These assertions are particular where regulation and professional registrations are not a requirement of the qualification and/or occupation. Studies have shown that students cite a mismatch between curriculums pursued, which is focused chiefly on theoretical foundations, with little emphasis on practical linkage and the ability to secure employment, thus compounding the transition from studentship to employee. Furthermore, the qualification pursued by the graduates are cited as not meeting labor demands where a scarce skills gap exists. In addition, underemployment is also evident, where individuals assume employment in areas that do not develop their expertise in qualifications pursued. Similarly, the individual also pursues continuous temporary and short-term contractual employment unrelated to their disciplinary focus required. The ability to secure employment draws attention to the individual and the attributes held for employability. And so we ask, what does employability mean? Employability refers to that students acquire the skills, understanding, and personal attributes that make them more likely to secure employment and be successful in their chosen occupations to the benefit of themselves, the workforce, the community, and the economy. How often, and often students, I've often said students are being asked by families, when will you be done? I wonder how many students how many parents have actually asked their children, so when will you be done? When are you done studying? And when will you get a job? The transition to being an employee is compounded. Questions have therefore emerged about the relevance of the curriculum and the role of universities as society changes. Furthermore, whether the university is responsible for the employability of its students. Employability assumes a fluid relationship between the various stakeholders, including higher education, business, and government. However, employability is compounded by many nuances, including constrained economies, sectoral change, and innovation. There has also been a shift in global economic and employment trends that includes changes in organizational structure and the nature of the work environment. These changes have redefined the traditional work environment, where remote work has become accepted and contested in some instances. Secondly, the introduction of artificial intelligence, the effects of pandemics and wars, and climate change have profoundly affected the employability and global economic trends. Higher education, and as particular to this discussed in universities, are instrumental in the development of human and social capital of a country and its economy. Higher education is a transformative change agent in its purpose and role of knowledge development and transfer. This role and purpose has been more keenly emphasized as the student body and the nature of the world of work diversifies. Universities in the African context are the epicenter of knowledge development to contribute to and steer societal change. Universities function as a seat for intellectual leadership, skills development, the promotion of social and economic modernization, human development for economic growth, and the developmental sustainability of our country. The theoretical knowledge and skills students acquired by students should ideally be foundational and extend to an expertise and mastery level, and relevant to the workplace and economic development of the country. The purpose of universities is to ensure that graduates hold the attributes and aptitude to be employable, to meet the expectations of business and government. But of course, this raises many questions about the graduate unemployment rate in our own country. Students pursuing qualifications at higher institutions gain knowledge and skills and develop expertise acquired from learning and teaching, as well as technological and innovation exposure embedded in the disciplinary-related curricula and research agenda. The individual and government make a significant personal and public investment in human capital development, including student funding and fees payable to access higher education. This investment illustrates a relationship between economic development, employability, and employment, thus a quest for continued co-creation and co-producing in the context of pedagogical exposure. Student access and success are critical to meeting the objectives of higher education and individual goals to self-articulation. The reality is that students hold expectation of self-articulation and social mobility upon graduation. We see the excitement annually when we pursue graduation, soon in December and in April. It is thus critical to understand the relationship between work-integrated learning and the student profile of the new neoliberal university as informed by the socio-economic context that defines and informs employability. Furthermore, the factors that inform employability and its relationship with pedagogy is crucial. The transition of graduates to the workplace is an expectation held of universities in its employability preparation, as well as business and industry, to meet its objectives and to counteract skills shortages. And so, our graduates have expectations of social mobility. They want to earn the money. They want to be out there. They want to move on. Often when I've had students come into my office, then I want to be done. But how often have students also turned around and said, "Are you still there? You're still there. You haven't moved." And the answer is, "No, I haven't moved. I'm still here trying to make a difference." Therefore, work-integrated experiential training is vital in developing work readiness to manage job expectations efficiently and expedite the transition to efficient employees, reducing lengthy induction and probation periods and workplace stress for new employees. The public service, and I need to be very careful because I know there are a number of public servants in the room. But we shall co-create together. Dr. Anabe, good to see you. The public service as the bureaucracy, with requisite competent and professional public servants, is crucial to guiding and facilitating socio-economic development. The public service has a multiplicity of skill sets. However, it faces several challenges that have led to a critique of its inability to meet its mandate optimally. A perpetual skills gap and poor skills retention have also hampered effective and efficient service delivery. A competent professional workforce in the public service is required to understand and address the socioeconomic context and challenges that compound service delivery. Secondly, meet the rapid changes that informs responsive governance and citizen trust that displays ethical professionalism. Public service delivery requires a competent and skilled employee component that holds the appropriate organizational and statecraft knowledge that is an understanding of the bureaucracy, its relationship with the political arena, and how it functions to navigate the political administrative dichotomy that defines the institutional setting. And so, it can be assumed that graduates who complete qualifications in the discipline of public administration and management wish to pursue careers as public officials and therefore should hold foundational knowledge of its role and purpose, the context and the value system that defines public service delivery. Furthermore, an understanding by public officials that knowledge enhancement via qualification and continued executive education is part of the lifelong process of skill enhancement to levels of mastery, upskilling, and revitalization in the context of change. The aforementioned discussion draws further attention to the crucial relevance of work-integrated learning. What is work-integrated learning? Work-integrated learning seeks to prepare impending and new graduates for the job market by establishing a link between theory and practice. Therefore, a relationship with a number of stakeholders and partners is required to assume and impart a holistic experience that defines a professional acumen. When students leave, they leave with knowledge. They still have to develop their professional acumen, their professional identity. And it's up to employers to assist in developing that professional acumen and identity. When I started, I said, think back to when you first walked into your workplace. Were you expectant? What did you assume when you walked? And these are for my colleagues who've been for a number of years in employment. Work-integrated learning creates a link and an opportunity to co-produce the learning experience and revitalize the curriculum and approach to skills development. Students can conceptualize, put into action, and reflect on the information and skills learned. The exposure that students convey during and on completion of work-integrated learning is vital to co-producing the learning experience. Often when I have engaged my own interns, I think sometimes I've lost my sense of cool, and my own interns have reminded me where to go and find my sense of cool. And often they've helped me decode, when a student has come into my office, they've helped me decode. And yes, Sanele, you know what that means. They've helped me decode what a student wants to get across to me. And of course, I come from my old experience, and I want to help, and then students will say, my interns will say, Mama Draai, let's wait, let's talk. And often they've called me to a meeting and said, maybe you should handle it this way, maybe you should handle it that way. Because they've decoded. And that is the level of co-creation. And I've been able to go into the situation and call the student. And then I've been able to engage. Often interns have called me to a meeting and said, Mama Draai, we need to think, we think we need to talk to you. And they've planted themselves in my office, and they've educated me. Students can conceptualize and put into action and reflect on the information and skills learned. The exposure that students convey during and on completion of work-integrated learning is vital to co-producing the learning experience. The assumption is that, for instance, experiential learning can co-produce, and work-integrated learning co-produce a new organizational culture by sharing new ideas that coexist with embedded institutional practices. The public service is defined by multi-generational levels of, in terms of its staffing complement. And with the multi-generational staffing complement, our work-integrated learning students brings fresh, new perspectives, which allows for coexistence, if permitted, with current institutional practices. Our legal system facilitates the process of learning and work-integrated learning. However, at times, work-integrated learning has not enjoyed the status that it should have. Work-integrated learning allows the new graduate to transition from higher education to the job market for graduate-level employment. It is a process where students gain work readiness and experience and work-related exposure within a chosen field. The experience and exposure allows a graduate to commence developing a professional identity. And so, employability and employment is distinctly different. Employability to the new graduate is acquired workplace acumen, including skills and attributes that enable the new or prospective employee to adapt to systems and processes. Employability is the process of bridging the gap between theoretical and technical knowledge and the acquisition and enhancement of soft skills, which are increasingly valued in the modern workplace, making the humanities very relevant. Experiential training allows the new graduate to develop a professional identity and and to self-actualize. Employment refers to the contractual engagement within an organization as an employee, or where the individual is self-employed. Work-integrated learning assumes many aspects. And so work-integrated learning is both in-service training, internships, job shadowing, and apprentices. My research focuses on in-service training, internships, and partially job shadowing. And so I want to share with you some student perspectives on work-integrated learning. I had many conversations with students over the years. And what did they say? In terms of preliminary findings of the study that I'm busy with, overall experience in in-service training, generally difficult to secure in-service training. They are sent from pillar to post, even with the preparation that we engage with. Placement encounter, mostly a positive experience. Mentors are helpful, and students were rotated between sections. Remember, I spoke about multiple stakeholders. Met a number of alumni who were accommodating and who could relate. Individuals who had previously done work-integrated learning. Students were given tasks of absent employees and felt under pressure to perform, to complete the work accurately. And this is what they said. This is what one student said. They forgot that I'm here only to do in-service training and to learn. They treated me like a full-time employee and gave me tasks to complete like all other employees. Another participant said, I often had to help the older staff with the computer and particular programs. Preliminary findings from internships. Mostly, these students had a positive learning experience, but were often treated as less than and required to do menial tasks not related to the specific job appointed or functional tasks assigned. Internships led to, in some cases, permanent employment for some in the organization, but in different sections. And so, the public servant of the future, what is required? My impending data collection will yield more insights. But for the moment, lessons learned. Lessons learned, the public servant of the future requires theoretical foundations that is informed by seminal and contemporary knowledge, underpinned by indigenous knowledge systems. We need to recognize our own systems and not impose and teach our students about the African context and not only adopt international best practices. They may not always lead to sustainable results. Soft skills, being able to function in a group, being able to communicate clearly, being able to work within a team is underrated, but so critically important. To navigate the organizational complexity and function in a team is crucial. Analytical skills includes numeracy, Shelley, and research, as well as technical skills. You will recall the student just said, I was called on. Many students who are here will attest that some staff call upon them to show them how to work Excel. And so my lessons learned will be more informed once the study is concluded. But I think, in closing, the new public servant of the future is important, and therefore we at the university must co-create with our students and all our stakeholders. I commence by inviting you to reflect on your journey in the world of work. And I trust that when you meet our students in your neck of the woods, that you'll be sensitized to their needs and their journey. In the words of Tata Madiba, what counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived. It is what difference we have made to the lives of others that will determine the significance of the life we lead. I thank you.
Professor Draai, it is my privilege to, on behalf of Council, the Senate, our Vice-Chancellor, and the entire university community and beyond, congratulate you on a convincing inaugural lecture. Thank you so much for this. Given your experience, your expertise, as one glanced through your CV, you are certainly a consummate scholar and a well-rounded professional academic citizen. Your lecture that examines the employability and job readiness of graduates who have completed a curriculum and qualification in public administration and management has certainly been cogent and persuasive. With its focus on work-integrated learning, specifically focusing on short-term experiential training within the field of public administration and management, your argument makes a case for the significance of experiential training in nurturing intergenerational relationships between aspiring public officials and seasoned career professionals. The core belief underpinning your lecture is that hands-on training provides a chance for organizations to learn, potentially revitalizing the public sector and collaboratively fostering a novel organizational ethos by blending innovative concepts with established institutional methods and practice. Congratulations, Enaleen, and best wishes on your career further and task lying ahead. Please give Prof. Draai a warm round of applause. I am also expressing the gratitude of our university for your contributions over many, many years, Prof, and especially relay the thanks of our Vice-Chancellor and Executive, our Senate and Governing Council, and of course, our students. I would like now to take the opportunity to share a message with you from the President of our Alumni Association. Dear Prof. Draai, congratulations on your inaugural lecture. The association looks forward to your support and involvement in our activities to mark this very special occasion in your academic career and your time at Nelson Mandela University. On behalf of the association, I would like to present you with this symbolic gift. Where is the photographer?
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Best wishes on all your future endeavors, so does the message end. In closing, I would like to convey our thanks to those who are attending the inaugural lecture in person and online. Your interest in the work of Prof. Draai and that of our university is much appreciated. Thanks, Pam, for introducing Prof. Draai, and also Hendrik for doing the welcoming remarks. Thanks also to Enaleen's special guest, especially her mom, of course, friends and family and colleagues. They have been welcomed and acknowledged earlier on, but she did indicate a thank you that should be relayed towards the end for Prof. Maekizo, which she thanked in terms of conveying gratitude in her capacity as the doctoral study leader of her current studies. Last but by no means least, thank you to the institutional governance team and the Office of the Registrar, our communications and marketing team, and our ICT team that made the inaugural lecture possible. Did a wonderful job. This brings to a close the inaugural lecture of Professor Draai. You are invited for light refreshments in the foyer. May I request the audience to stand whilst the academic procession leaves the venue. So, thank you so much. Now, so